Welcome into the still unnamed Coach Nick Davis podcast. Coach Nick Davis joins us. You have such a Twitter presence and reach. I thought by now, Coach, we would have had some suggestions on what to name this thing.
Yeah, no, I think the only person really working hard on the naming suggestion is my own mother. She's asked me a few times, if you got the name for the show yet? And I said, we haven't figured anything out. We've just been brainstorming all these months. So maybe she'll come up with a suggestion all the way out there in Illinois for the next time we get together.
We'll see if we can't get some nibbles and come up with something with the name, something catchy, a hook, something to hook the listener in for this podcast with something witty or clever. Oh, who the hell am I kidding? It'll be neither none of that at all if I come up with it. So, Coach, how's it going? It's been pretty busy for you. A lot of stuff going on, spring ball and decent weather for spring ball.
We just wrapped up last Saturday. Started out shaky because before spring break, we were supposed to practice 3 times, and we had some poor weather. And so we then went on spring break. Talk about a little bit later, Coach Coombs, Western from Nebraska. So he left in the middle of spring break, and I decided let's get 14 practices in the next 3 weeks. And we ended up having really good weather besides maybe one day where it was kind of rainy and cold. But for the most part, it was gorgeous weather. Saturday was probably the best day we had to wrap up. So it ended up being a really nice spring, and we escaped the spring, knock on wood, injury-free, and we should have everyone back in the fall that participated in spring football.
We will discuss the spring practices and the spring game here in just a few minutes, but let's get a few quick hits out of the way. As you mentioned, Coach Davis has moved on to a program in Nebraska here recently, had an opportunity. So now it's time to find somebody to fill that void. And is there anything that you're looking for in particular in that defensive spot?
Yeah, so Coach Coombs went out to Chattahoochee State. Again, like I was saying, his wife's originally from Nebraska, and we advertised the job. And really the biggest thing we're looking for is fit within our family, the accountability and the mindset of our program, the kind of the 3 core values. We kind of want to stay with the same terminology because these kids learned it in the fall. They just practiced with that same terminology for the last 15 practices. But I'm also looking for a guy to come in and kind of bring his own little flair and flavor to things and run our defense as I get a chance to really run our whole team as the head coach. So that's the biggest thing we're looking for is a guy with some experience, being able to learn, what we have done and take that and use it. Because I think that is ultimately, we made some great strides this spring in terms of how we play on defense, and then be able to add maybe a few things here and there that maybe the kids won't notice in the fall. And they'll be like, oh, yeah, that's what we did in the spring, and be able to kind of miss it without a beat. So we had, close to 50 candidates apply. I'm starting to go through those resumes. We'll probably bring guys on campus in the next few weeks and hoping to get someone hired in May at some point.
Do you plan to continue to have your hands involved with the defensive side of the ball? Are you going to leave that up to the next person that you hire, or is it going to kind of be a mix of both?
Yeah, ultimately what I would love to do is be able to let that person run with it. Now, being a small staff, I will probably most likely coach a position on defense. So that's why it's important for me to keep kind of that same terminology and kind of do the same things we've done. Because as I'm a head coach, I don't want to learn a completely new defense. If that was the case, I would just be the defense coordinator and hire someone else and not learn that. So that is the big thing. And I kind of want that person to take full ownership of things and kind of, me be there. We'll obviously do it together. We've talked about in the podcast before how our offensive coaching staff, with our co-coordinators, they're doing it together. Ultimately, that would be my thought is we're doing it together. But that guy's got the decision on third down, whether he wants to blitz or play coverage. And then I have the decision on 4th and 1 when the offense is out on the field, if we go for it or we punt and those sort of things. So I kind of want to focus on that aspect of things and let my coordinators kind of handle the day-to-day scheme things within.
You mentioned that you've had almost 50 people apply for the job. I would imagine that the applications and resumes have come from all over the country and different levels of the game.
Yeah, we've had anywhere from high school coaches to college coaches to former head college coaches to guys that were Division I defensive coordinators at one time, some people that have coached in the CFL. So I think with kind of my national social media presence, it drew some attention from some people, but there's also a website we advertise on, Football Scoop, which every football coach in the country looking for a job, it's on pretty much daily if they need a job. So I think that draws obviously national attention. So, we have some, local flavor to it, some high school coaches here in the state of Kansas that I'm giving everyone kind of an equal footing, whether they're a middle school coach or they coach in the CFL. We're just looking for the best fit in our program. And, we're trying to figure that in the next few weeks who, those candidates are.
We'll hold off on all the Manny Matsakis jokes as much as possible for this one. But that's a wide gap there as far as experience coaching defenses, because high school is different than college and CFL is completely different than college. So you mentioned that you look at you're wanting someone to fit in that family aspect. Is that where most of the weight lies on that, or are you also taking into consideration the experiences where that experience was and maybe what their track record is?
Yeah, I think everything kind of goes into account. Ultimately, to me, the family atmosphere, the mindset of the candidate and the accountability, when I reached back out to all the candidates who applied that we were most interested in, I kind of laid it out saying, this is our program. I need a coach that's going to keep our kids accountable. I need a coach that loves our guys. And I need a guy that's going to coach from a positive mindset. If that is not you, this position is not for you, whether you won national championships, Grey Cups, the middle school never won a game. That's the biggest thing. And then kind of secondary is I'm looking for the best teacher and a hard worker. And kind of what we do, Bob, and this is somewhat unique, is I get all these resumes and they all look great. And what I do is I ask them 3 questions and send a video format to me and have it under 11 minutes. And I give them a week kind of deadline to do it. And I'm going to see who's really interested in the job or who just was easy to plug in Ottawa on the resume, as they're in the cover letter, like, oh, I'm really interested in Ottawa. And then the next week they're doing Kansas Wesleyan. And then when Sterling has a job, they insert Sterling. Like, that's pretty easy. So we're going to figure out, kind of who's a good fit and who's, a hard working, a worker. And then with the video, we're going to find out who can teach. Because I think ultimately it doesn't matter what level you're at. If you can teach a middle schooler, you're going to be able to teach a college guy. If you can teach a guy in the CFL, then you can coach, and teach a college.
But now we're going to move away from the defensive coordinator talk. I'm going to take a quick sip of the official beverage of this podcast, Icy Orange. That's a swig for the working man there. And we're going to talk about the spring ball, the practices and that. And obviously with you and as the head coach, one would expect that maybe the spring practices took on a little bit of a different characteristic than maybe under Coach Kessinger. Is that a fair assessment?
There were some things that we carried over from what we have done with Coach K, and then there were some kind of new things. We implemented Coach K kind of always kept the practice time on his watch, Coach K time. So we implemented our scoreboard that had our period showing and a horn. I like to be really organized, and it's hard for me to be on Coach K time if I don't have Coach K time. So that was an adjustment in the fall for me. Not that it was good or bad. He did it for a number of years, and it obviously worked. But I like to be able to look up and see, okay, we're in period 10, and this period has 3 more minutes in it. And when the horn blows, we're going to 11. We were able to purchase 2 drones for filming purposes, which is really nice, Bob, because instead of needing 4 filmers for 2 sideline shots, if you're doing different drills on both sides of the field and 2 end zone shots, you just really need 2 people because the drone gets so high that it gets all 22 people on the field. So that was kind of an improvement that we got. I got a mini blowhorn, which I need a assistant coach to carry that thing around because it's so heavy. But maybe we'll look for a student assistant to help me out with that. And then really what the kids had asked about is more competition than they've ever had. And we always ended practice with some sort of competition, whether it was an offensive lineman versus a D lineman or a linebacker, or one of the last practices in helmets, we did a rock, paper, scissors tournament, and people kept playing until they were eliminated. So I always wanted to end the practice with, hey, there's a winner and there's a loser. We all got to come together at the end of this thing, though. And, one team, one mindset of what we're doing. So that was pretty good. And then, we lucked into it a little bit by not having many hands on deck on defense, that it was a lot easier just to play football than be able to do a lot of individual drills. So we had more team sessions than we had over 15 practices. We had more team sessions than probably what there's ever been in the spring. Because a lot of times the spring focuses on individual, but when I'm coaching 12 defensive backs and 16 linebackers at the same time, it doesn't give me a lot of opportunities because those guys have different skill sets. So that was kind of a little recap of how the spring went and what we did. And, with 3 new coming quarterbacks coming into the program, we needed to get a lot of reps to see and evaluate those guys.
So several things I want to hit on there. I'm going to first start off. You mentioned about bringing the drones in. Is that to give you a look that maybe you normally would not have, and to be able to take this time between spring and then fall camp to make appropriate adjustments? What was the thinking about bringing those drones in?
Yeah, so the drones are nice, like I was saying, that you can kind of have one person film and you get the wide shot and the end zone shot. So it's non-traditional in terms of how people watch football, because everyone kind of watches it from that wide angle if you're on TV or whatnot. But a lot of coaches, they watch the wide and then they watch the end zone shot to watch the offensive line. So that drone gives you the opportunity, one, to be more efficient as a coach, because as I watch one play for 15 seconds, I'm only watching one angle versus, hey, if, and this was our case this spring, it was me and our D-line coach, Jacob Garcia. Well, if I'm watching the wide to look at all my DBs and my linebackers in coverage, well, he really can't see much until we flip to the next clip where he sees the end zone shot, watches the defensive lineman. So you're actually twice as efficient with the drone shot because all you need is one shot. And that's pretty nice. So that was the biggest reason of why we like the drone. And then I think there's several advantages for defensive back coaches and receivers coaches to see leverage because you're directly behind the quarterback in different things. And you can kind of always see where the quarterback's looking, where the wide shot you necessarily can't. So I think it's one, efficiency, and 2, it gives you a leg up on maybe being able to do twice the amount of work and least amount of time.
As far as players go, obviously you had your returners. Did you have anybody new in at semesters to take part into the spring game?
Yeah, so we brought in 3 transfer quarterbacks, all participated in the spring game. Billy Maples is a kid from the Missouri area. So he actually threw, I think, 2 touchdowns in the spring game. And then we had Austin Zavala, who's a quarterback out of California JUCO. And then Noah Schumann, who was a Division II transfer from Allen University out in South Carolina. He's originally from Utah. So both of those guys, or all 3 of those guys, were able to get into the spring game and did really good things throughout the spring. Dakota Lynn came back from his injury really nicely, and he was able to participate in the spring game. So we really have what we thought maybe was a weakness of our team last year has became a strength in terms of there's several guys that we feel really good about going into the fall that will be our starting quarterback or be a very capable backup. And, we're going to have a really good third and a really good 4th string quarterback that may give us the ability that if those guys are 3rd and 4th string to do something else on our team to help us win because they're all pretty good athletes.
And that this would be a position that you're looking to have a lot of competition with, and I don't want to say pit one another against each other, but you certainly want everyone to take advantage of the competition to stand out.
Yeah, you really want iron sharpens iron, as what we've learned, all those years ago that, it brings out the best of them. And you'll watch the film as a defense coach and you'll say, man, Billy had a great day. And the next day, Dakota, you think plays the best. And then we're in the office and I'm like, man, Austin made a nice read there. And then the next day we're like, man, Noah, he's got a really good arm and he does some really good things with his read. So, it was somewhat of adjustment too, because we had implemented, a little changes here on offense with Coach Hennis coming in and Coach Mendez kind of morphing what they want to do together. So there were some feeling out periods early on, but I felt like our offense, kind of hit the stride those last 5 or 6 practices. In fact, we scrimmaged the Saturday before and just kind of early scrimmage in the morning one day. And our offense really took it to us a lot more than maybe what they did on the spring game. And they played pretty good in the spring game, but defensively, we didn't play very good 2 weeks ago in that first scrimmage. And the offense took advantage of that.
One of the positions, at least while I was watching, that seemed to stand out to me also was the running position. There were some really nice runs out there. Again, you have to look towards your offensive line to be able to block and open up those holes. So it was a good marriage between the offensive line and those running backs, and really made some nice plays.
Yeah, I think our running back core is the strongest position on our team, no doubt. And that's without a Derek Curtis really taking any snaps this spring. He's going to be fully healthy in the fall, and we wanted to make sure of that. But that gave guys other opportunities, and everybody's seen James Reeder in the past and Day Johnson. Everyone kind of knows those characters, but we introduced a Sultan Sullivan and a Milwaukee Pickle. And we have a transfer, Jared Daniels, that came in, and Sam Osborne, who's a freshman, has done a nice job for us. And Lawrence Hudson, who's a junior for us, has done some nice things. So it's really the strongest position on our team. And I look and I'm like, man, these offensive guys, they got it good. Their 5th, 6th string running back are able to carry the ball for 6-7 yards. I'm like, I might want that guy to play linebacker.
Wide receiver wise, how do you feel about what you have right now and what you saw during spring practice and the spring game?
Yeah, so I think this has kind of been the biggest leap in terms of our leadership on offense. Corey Jones had a nice job in the spring game before the officials ejected him for having a little too much fun after his second touchdown. I guess they got him for 2 unsportsmanlike conducts in the spring game, but Corey's not really like that. So I don't think we're going to have too many problems in the fall with that, but he had an excellent spring. Pharrell Hill's a guy that you probably the fans haven't heard a ton about, but he's one of the fastest kids on our team. He's done a phenomenal job stepping up in our program. Jermaine Ziegler is back to being healthy. He had, dinged up last year. And just kind of every day there was a new guy stepping up, doing different things. But we got some explosive weapons. I know a lot of alums that were in the crowd were like, you got some free wide receivers out there on offense. Gunnar Madeir had a 70-yard touchdown, which was an amazing play. And, he's played a little bit. And so we're feeling really good about our receiver depth, our running back depth, and quarterback depth, which may have not been something that we've had here in a few years.
Defensively, how would you say that overall they looked in the spring game, and were you happy with what you were able to see throughout not only just spring practice but the spring game?
Yeah, I think this was the ultimate compliment. I heard Coach Jacob Garcia, our D-line coach, he was talking with some of the guys he played with that are going to graduate, and they said that our guys are running the football better than what they did last season, and that includes those guys being on those teams. So I think that's an area of improvement is those guys are really bought into what we're doing. And we were able to put a little bit more speed on the field than what we did last year, just from some certain guys. But our defensive back crew is really nice. There wasn't many passes down the field completed. A lot of the completions in the spring game were probably on some busted coverages and different things. Tony Davis is a guy that was able to play corner and safety for us. Devin Johnson played corner and safety for us at different points this spring. Kevin Wade had done a phenomenal job all spring. Keandre Polanco is a kid that stepped up. Jan, my man Jan's done a great job. Sam O'Bang's a player that people haven't heard about. But on defense, our deepest position is defensive back. Linebackers did a really nice job. We were thin with some injuries at the defensive line, but all those guys are going to return in the fall. But really pleased with how they picked up the defense, again, learning it the second time, and now they're playing fast.
You mentioned the thinness at the defensive line. Are you confident that by the time fall camp comes around that you will be back to close to full strength, if not full strength at that position?
Yeah. So the way we recruited, we're going to have over 140 guys in the program next fall, which is going to be, I think, from what I understand, at least probably here in your time, Bob, the biggest roster we've ever had. I don't know if they've had one bigger than that. And we're going to be really 5 deep in every position across the board. Now, again, you got to have talent in those positions. You just can't have 5 deep and not. So, some of those guys coming in are freshmen, and they're going to have to figure it out here pretty quick. We have a few transfers coming in really at different positions across our board of our team. But we're going to be the deepest we've ever been, August 2nd, when we roll into preseason camp. It just, depends on how deep we are when you start the season in September and how deep you are in November when you're wrapping it up.
And you mentioned being deep and talking about competition and trying to make sure that you've got your best 22 on the field at all times, and then having quality second string, third string and such. How do you go about keeping, for lack of a better term, egos in check? Everyone wants to be out there on the field. Everybody thinks that they're going to be the one that can contribute the most. And if they're not there on the field, there are places where players have sour attitudes. So as a head coach and with your coaches on the staff, what do you do to keep that from happening?
Yeah, and I think that's the toughest thing in this game, because sometimes the most talented teams don't always win. It's the teams that are the best teams that are okay with taking a step back and different things. I think what Coach Hennis and Coach Mendez has implemented on offense is playing multiple personnel groups, and they were really dedicated to that this spring in terms of being every single play. They were bringing in different personnel groups, whether it be 2 tight ends or 4 receivers or 1 tight end and a running back or 2 running backs. So they were really dedicated to doing that. The spring game didn't really necessarily probably showcase in terms of within a drive that stuff that much, just because it's hard when you're, hey, we got two teams and you rob Peter to pay Paul when you're in a scrimmage and doing different things. So, but I think that helps. Coach Henderson Mendez's goal is to play 60 to 70 plays a game. And then within that, not just 4 wide receivers play. Maybe it's if 7 guys are good enough to help us win a conference championship, then they're going to play 7 guys and those guys are going to get into the role. And kind of their goal as an offense is over a 10-game season, you're playing about 6 to 7 games total in terms of the amount of plays versus, hey, you play every snap for 2 weeks, but then you're injured for 6. So that's what they're going to do on an offensive side. And there's going to be some guys that really need to know, like, hey, I'm the best guy maybe on this offense, but in this personnel, I'm not in ball game. So I'm going to have to check my ego. And, those guys, generally your best players are pretty good about wanting to win. So, and then on the defensive side of the things, it's similar, like have packages where you play 40 linemen, have packages where you play 5 linebackers, have packages where you play 5, 6 defensive backs. And that's a lot more based on what the opponent is going to do to you, because it's hard to play 6 DBs if you're playing a triple option team that's going to run the ball 65% of the time, because that may not fit those 6 DBs skill sets. So some of that on defense is based on the game, but again, you got to be unselfish. Maybe you're the nickel, but the team never gets into, their 22 personnel, which is 2 tight ends, 2 running backs. Well, my nickel's probably never going to play very much in that game unless he's playing his true position, which is corner or safety. So he's got to be unselfish. But that next week, they may play 4 wide receivers, and he may play the whole entire game. So that's what you got to do a little bit. We're going to play more JV games than we have. We have, and I'm calling them gold squad games, because I think, kids think JV is kind of degrading, and it shouldn't be. It's it's our development team, and we're going to play 3 of those games. We're planning a scrimmage against Mid-America Nazarene. So we're going to kind of have 4 opportunities for everyone in our program to be able to play and get better.
Do you feel like Coach Hennis and Coach Mendez, the cohesion is coming together for what they're trying to do on offense?
Yeah, no, they're working together great. If we do a team run emphasis, Coach Mendez is calling the plays. If we're doing a team pass emphasis drill, then Coach Hennis is scripting. They're getting together on our team emphasis, where you might be able to do whatever. And I think that's been a really nice thing, and what's allowed Coach Mendez kind of step back and be really the head coach of the offense. And that's what I've, told him that he needs to, do. And obviously I'm involved, but he's kind of taken leadership role of that as the associate head coach, and making sure everything's ran great over there on that side of the ball. So no, they're coming together great. And they're still, early in spring, they're trying to figure out, well, this is how I did it last year here. And that's how Coach Hennis has done it in the past. But luckily, there's some crossover, because the offensive line coach for Coach Hennis last year had worked with Julian as a graduate assistant. So a lot of the things that Julian wants to do and was implemented with Coach Hennis at his last stop are things that Julian has been excited about in the past. So there's a lot of crossover. So it really ended up being a nice fit for us, that with them never coaching together, it's like they've coached together.
What was the major goal you wanted to accomplish through the spring practices? Obviously, it's the usual, let's get everybody on board and start to prepare for fall camp. But was there something, as you prepared for this, that you really wanted to accomplish? And do you feel like that you did accomplish it?
Yeah, I think it all comes back to we wanted to become a better family, and we were kind of ending spring here with family cookouts. Coach Mendez is having the O-line and the running backs over at his house with the coaches tomorrow for some barbecue smoked ribs and chicken thighs. I think Coach Hennis is having the offensive skill players, quarterbacks, receivers, tight ends at his place on next Tuesday. And then the whole defense is coming to my house next Wednesday. So, that was one big thing is we wanted to, Coach Kessinger did a phenomenal job in 18 years of the family atmosphere. And it's a real thing and people feel it on campus and our team does a phenomenal job. We just want to keep improving it. So we had a cookout for one of our softball games and we had a phenomenal turnout and we had 2 walk-off game winners at that against MAC earlier in the year. So we've had one phenomenal kind of team cookout and we're going to kind of do it by positional on defense and offense the next few weeks with cookout. So just get closer as our group. And then having, the accountability of stuff. We had 5:45 a.m. weightlifting Monday, Wednesday, Friday since mid-January. So kids having to be accountable with that, being accountable for practice, having them show up on time and do all that. And not that we hadn't did that, but what our players, I think, wanted more was the leaders on our team to hold that standard and get after guys a little bit more. And then a positive mindset. There was times last year, for example, like in the spring game, Devin Johnston gave up a 70-yard touchdown. There were times that, we'd come to the sideline and it would be really negative, like offense, like, why'd you give up a touch? Well, no crap. We gave up a touchdown. All right. We got to move on to the next play. So I think that has got a lot better this spring of, hey, everyone thinks it's the next play positivity. And if something didn't work out, we're either going to figure it out or the coaches are going to find a replacement for that guy, or that guy is going to figure it out and he's going to respond and be able to play. So with our core values, I think we hit on all 3 of them. Do we have a lot of work to go? Yeah, you always do. I don't think you never need to be satisfied with anything. So we did a really good job, but we need to get a lot better in the fall to where we want to go ultimately with our team goals.
How does Mrs. Davis feel about an entire defense coming over and having to feed them? Is there concerns?
We talked about that tonight. So we got to figure out what our plan of attack. I know some guys on our team like chicken wings, pizza. We may make chicken wings and maybe order some pizzas. Coach Mendez only got 22 to feed Coach Hennis, or I think Coach Mendez got 26 to feed. Coach Hennis has 22. I'm going to have about 38 guys in my backyard. And after having a phenomenal barbecuer and Coach Mendez for 2, I'm going to have a lot to live up to with that defense. So I can't just buy them hot and ready pizzas from Little Caesars or something. So we got to put a plan of attack together and figure out a good way to eat these kids, or, get these kids to eat some good food and spend some time with, our families. Cause that is important. It's my wife wants to be around it. Coach Mendez's wife, and Coach Hennis's wife. We want to be those kids to be around us and see good examples of what it's like to be a good husband and dog dad, as we all are.
Will she try to indoctrinate the defense with Skyline chili?
I don't think so. She may make my mom's family favorite recipe cookies, which are world secret cookies, Bob, that she got the recipe. It took her, I think 3 years to get the family secret cookie recipe, and she is not allowed to give it to anyone, but she can make some cookies now. My mom taught her pretty good how to make those cookies, which is why I probably gained some weight this off season.
Are we talking like chocolate chip cookies? Are we talking what kind of cookies are we talking about?
Yeah, chocolate chip. But the other day she made some phenomenal peanut butter cookies where she'd substituted almond butter. Her taste for peanut butter during the COVID era had became not very good, as some people have known peanut butter not to taste like peanut butter. So she is fell in love with almond butter because that's a good substitute and it does not taste as bad as what the peanut butter tastes to her. So she made some good almond butter cookies, but she's got a recipe book for Christmas my mom made her that has 200 some recipes in there. So she kind of picks and chooses what cookies that she wants to perfect the next time.
People actually think peanut butter tastes good. That's even an option. Wow. Is this true?
Yeah, peanut butter's it's pretty good.
So you guys, yourself and Coach Mendez, you mentioned we're doing a little cooking for the during baseball, softball games on the OU campus. Of course, Mendez he is known as Iron Chef Ottawa with all of his cooking abilities and such. You were manning one of the grills. Were you getting some advice, getting some tips on how to do this? I'm assuming everybody survived after eating the food. So, were you getting something from Master Chef Mendez?
Well, yeah, Julian's very good with his seasoning. So we had some hot dogs and we had some burgers, and we seasoned them up pretty good, and we did a nice job, Coach Mendez. I've cooked a good burger in my day, Bob. 5 minutes per side, you flip it. 5 minutes per side. You want it to rest for 5 minutes. I've had a lot of food training from the Food Network over my years. I definitely don't know how to smoke ribs like Coach Mendez, but I'm not too bad around the grill. I worked at a pizza restaurant in high school, so I'm a pretty good pizza chef, and I can make a homemade crust. My mom's a baker, and she comes from a family of bakers, so I've been around cooking kind of my whole life, mostly eating, but definitely it would help out in the kitchen. I don't think anything back home. Any recipe starts with less than a cup of sugar and a stick of butter. Sometimes when you're making corn and green beans, probably the way I am size wise now, but it all tastes pretty good. So definitely, he brought some gloves, which were good, but he kind of let me man my grill. He manned his grill. We cooked, and the guys had a good time. And then the next week we went to a Kansas clinic, and he was the man stuck behind the cook for the SALT organization on campus, hot dogs for the whole softball game again. So he had 2 back-to-back grilling weekends. So he definitely takes the cake in being the Ottawa's top griller, I think.
What is your go-to on the Food Network? I mean, is there one? Is there one that you that's where you learn the most from, or you're taking inspiration from? Now, there were some members in my family who was more inclined to watch the females on the Food Network, Giada being one of the top ones. So I got to know for you, what's your go-to?
Well, I mean, I think as a GA here 10 years ago, for some reason, what pops in my mind is Man versus Food was really big. Not that he was cooking anything, but he's going in the like, what I really liked is the shows where the Guy Fieri's, they go into the kitchen and they talk to different people versus the one expert always giving you the way they wanted to do it, So Iron Chef's always a classic, so you can figure out some different things, but just anyone, I don't have a favorite, but my Tasty Tuesday, what I do on social media, like I want to go to different places and I want to experience different things because everybody has different opinions on different things. But those were shows I enjoyed. This Hole in the Wall in the middle of nowhere in Kansas City, Missouri. I want to go there when I get a chance, and I want to have what they had at that menu. And that's where my love of food really came from, is finding different places. So my wife hates it, but when we go into, say, we've never been to Denver, but if we went in Denver, I'm going to have a list of 12 places that I want to go eat at. In fact, before we had this little podcast, I messaged Coach Mendez, and there was like a list of 11 taco places that are authentic in Kansas City. And me and Coach Mendez have been to 2 of the 11 places. So he's like, that's a pretty good list. I said, you're pretty good because you suggested both of these places to me. So, and a shout out to Wendell Smith, who actually, I think, suggested the one place to Julian there on Southwest Boulevard, El Gallo, Taco Gallo on Southwest Boulevard there.
I can't say that I can't say that I have a list, but then again, I got to actually go somewhere. So that's part of it too. When you're hunkered down in your place forever, but yeah, I get where you're coming from. Watching some of the, I'm kind of with you though. I mean, I didn't get any tips from Giada. I was just looking at Giada. So, I like when they go into the kitchens and do all that stuff and see how that is. And yeah, it's kind of nice to not be at the chain restaurants all the time. So, uh, are we going to see more Tasty Tuesdays on the Twitter? Do you have your list of where you're going for these Tasty Tuesdays put together?
Yeah, not really a list per se, but our wedding anniversary, 5-year wedding anniversary with me and Heather is this Friday. So next Tasty Tuesday will probably be where we are going this weekend for dinner. I think she has got reservations set up. I'm not exactly sure. She was a great wife during spring football and was thinking about her anniversary. I knew when it was, but I told Coach Mendez as the associate head coach, he needed to make sure we didn't have practice on my wedding anniversary. I'd get in trouble. So I think that'll definitely be a Tasty Tuesday here in the future. Kind of getting caught up with spring ball. It's hard to get out to different places when you're practicing for 2 hours in an afternoon, but definitely what I found today, some chicken and waffle places I'm interested in the Kansas City area. Some non-traditional wing places that kind of got me excited. I want to get, because we have some kids that are big into liking African cuisine on our team. So I'd like to get kind of into some of the places around with some African cuisine. I know some kids on our team like oxtail. So I'm trying to find a good spot that maybe has some oxtail to try that bad boy. And my wife likes sushi. So, I mean, I got a big list. I'm trying to find a good pizza place. So if anyone out there knows of a good pizza place in the Kansas City area, we tried 3 or 4. We haven't been too excited compared to what my love of maybe Chicago deep dish pizza is. But reach out to me on Twitter. Let me know some pizza places, any fans out.
I don't think you're ever going to find anything like Chicago deep dish around this area. Could be wrong. I do like to peruse the pizza places myself, but it seems to be more of a New York style around here, which, don't get me wrong, it's pizza. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's not typically a bad pizza.
No, and Ottawa's got good pizza there on Main Street at Pizza Time. They got the best buffet in town. I want them to be an official sponsor of this podcast or something, so I get a good deal, Bob. But definitely the coaches go there quite often to get the pizza buffet there on Main Street.
And that's you're going to have to help me out here, since you have a good pizza crust recipe. I need to get some of that from you there. I don't know that I'm a cheater. I use the packets when I make my own pizza. But I need I want a good pizza crust mix to use.
I think I use maybe Emerald's. There's some recipes floating out on the internet. I think it was Emerald's pizza recipe or something. So cheating a little bit, but it's all about the water and putting the love into it, Bob.
Water and love.
Yeah,
that's it. Those are 2 important ingredients, and actually go further than just pizza crust. That's our touching moment of the podcast right there. Water and love are 2 ingredients that are needed no matter what.
Maybe that's the name of the show.
Welcome to the Water and Love podcast. You know what? I think we're going to throw that out there. We need to throw, you know what? You've got the stroke because you have 70 billion Twitter followers. I think we need a poll on Twitter.
Okay.
Should this be the name of the podcast, Water and Love?
Okay.
Because not only if that was it, we would just get the people checking in to go, what is this? And just to and see what's going on, and then maybe we get them. That's the hook. That's right there.
I'm with you.
I'm feeling it. I think that is I think that should be our name. But we'll let the Twitterverse decide that here.
Whatever the people want, Bob.
Absolutely. Whatever the people want within reason. I think we do have to put that caveat there, within reason, especially in this day and age. Well, we'll wrap this up here, but we'll give you a chance for any final words as we wrap up here for the month of April and we start putting our eyes towards fall camp and the fall season.
No, I just like to thank everyone for the support out there that has supported our program. We're doing a fundraiser right now, and a lot of people have given some money, given time. It's been phenomenal in terms of the freshmen that are going to come in the fall that are bought into what we're doing already. You know, our players that are going to come back are doing an amazing job bringing in, you know, juniors and sophomores and high school coming in and having the alumni around the program. Last Saturday was a great example of what our program is about. And it is our football family. It is the past, the present, and the future of what we're doing. And that was an amazing day to kind of have all three levels together and have a lot of supportive family, friends, parents at our spring contest. And it was just phenomenal that, you know, this small guy from a little place in Illinois, who's now the head coach here, is getting all this support from a ton of people. And that half the battle is just getting people to support what we're doing. And it's been phenomenal. I'm just excited about even more support growing in the fall.
And that's all we're after, is continuing to drum that support and get people involved with the football program. Coach, if people have questions about the program or want to get involved, how do they go about getting in touch with you to maybe help out with that?
Yeah, I mean, if anyone wants to do anything for our program, if you want to come talk at practice, we had a basketball alum that is a financial advisor that came and talked to guys on our team about an internship program that he's involved in that he did as a student at Ottawa. And our guys were kind of lukewarm about when he was in. And then he talked about how much money he made. And those guys were like, oh, wow, maybe I could do this and stuff. So just email me, nick.davis@ottawa.edu. I just went through every email I had from the spring. So I got a clean inbox and reach out to me. And anything I can do for you would be awesome. I know we have a youth camp coming up May 29th, Friday, May 29th. It's free for the Ottawa community, anyone in the country. It's free. And we're excited about that. We're not trying to make money. We just want to do a community service to the, you know, our community of Ottawa and, you know, the surrounding area of, hey, bring your second to sixth grader out and we're going to teach them football, but they're going to have a good time. And, you know, maybe they get the passion for Ottawa University and end up being a Brave someday.
Coach, thank you so much for taking time out. It's been a long day for you, I know, and now you get a chance to call it a night and get some rest or at least relax for a little bit. We appreciate this, and we will plan to try to get something together for May, and kind of keep going on a monthly schedule here until we get to the fall season, and then. We'll be right back into it. We'll have the Nick Davis Show, which will be on 1220 and 103.7 FM KOFO and KOFO.com. During that, of course, we'll be broadcasting the games and such. So a lot to look forward to as we get ready for Coach Davis's first season as the head coach of the Ottawa University Braves. Coach, we appreciate it. Thank you. And we'll talk to you again soon.
All right. Thanks.
That is it for the right now unnamed Coach Nick Davis podcast, but we're looking at maybe Love and Water. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. We'll talk to you again here soon. Thank you for listening to us, and just continue to search us out and look for it. And of course, you can always find Coach Davis on Twitter, and we'll talk to you again soon in the month of May. Thanks for listening.